So we are talking about the theme this week, which is video. And just to kind of recap why that's important, we feel that video is important in your social media strategy because you can really mix in a dynamic content strategy. Even for us, we have to change up our visuals. We are constantly trying to move that algorithm so that we're capturing views. And as these platforms become more and more used by other people, they, I feel, are kind of leaning towards video. Wouldn't you think, Bobbie Ann?
Oh, absolutely. I was actually just reading some facts for some of the other posts that we're going to be putting out this week. And like 83% of all internet traffic is actually social video.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I end up watching a lot of stuff on mute. So like I'm laying in bed or I'm doing something, somewhere where I don't want it to play. And so that's why, if possible, my little hack, and I know that you kind of are a fan of this too, is to add captions. Of course, we're going to talk about one of my favorite platforms, which we record in, that doesn't allow that. You'd have to upload it to something else and put captions on there. And there's just a lot of different hacks. But one of the things that people will ask us is, well, why is it important to add captions? And I know we're going to share about that. But for me personally, I know that I can attest to watching things on mute. And then when I see the verbiage kind of flowing, I'll like stop scrolling, be like, oh, okay. And then I end up playing it. Um, so we're talking about recording in Zoom and then posting, particularly today. One of the things I really like about that is you can take that recording and you can cut off any fat that you don't want to post out there. And then what I typically do is just kind of give it some time to give it, pause for a couple seconds in between those topics so that one would know where to clip. Um, I really like Zoom. It's something that we use daily, but there are other ones out there that you can use. The editing part, I'm going to throw it back to you, Bobbie Ann, because of course that's your forte and what you do with it then.
Sure. So I take care of all of the editing on our side over here at Germono. And what I like to do, and I love doing this Zoom thing too, because it gives you plenty of time to really chop it up the way that you want to chop it up. So what we like to do for some of our clients too, not just for us, is we actually take this long Zoom video and then we'll take little bits and pieces of the conversation. We do this for our podcast, we do this for clients, and then you can make those smaller little clips that are more bite sized. And the good thing about this too is that you have the raw footage too. It's not just like you went live and then you have to go somewhere to like go to Facebook and try to re-download it. You've got the raw video. So you can also just upload it directly to YouTube. So you've got both your long video and your short clip. So you've got a ton of content that comes from that. So as far as the video editing goes, I like to use Adobe Rush. Adobe Rush is pretty basic, but it also is a little more advanced than anything that you're going to get from using like a mobile app or something like that. But I do have some mobile apps that I use too. I have a go-to, which is InShot. There is a free version, but there's also a pro version, and it's like $10 a year. So for somebody like us who uses them, I use it like 10 to 20 times a week. It's definitely worth the $10. And then Adobe Rush is part of the Adobe package. So if you already have Adobe products, it's probably included with that. So those are a few simple editing apps and websites that you can use to kind of chop that up and use these long videos like this.
You know what else is cool is, so Bobbie Ann is an Android user. I am an
Yes.
iOS user. And so I like Zoom because if I send it, so what we typically do is we'll hit record, it uploads to the cloud. And then when the notification comes in that that recording is there, then we put it over on Dropbox so that Bobbie Ann has access to it. Because if I were to download it and then send it to her via email or try to send it to her through my phone, sometimes it just really janks up. So that's kind of our process. It seems a little like clunky, but we really have a good rhythm. And, then that way, when you're recording in something like Zoom, and you go into that editing, you can do things like add your logo to the beginning or do what's called an end slate. I'm going back to my TV days. An end slate is that kind of, at the very end of the video, the credits, if you will, and it's just that last thing that people see. And so our end slate ends up being our logo, maybe our phone number, website address, and that's a really nice way to be able to do that. So Zoom, I think, is free up to 40 minutes still, unless I'm wrong. I mean, we have the paid version, but listen, it's pennies compared to,
Yeah.
I mean, the ROI that I get on it. But it is worth it. And if you're just kind of trying it out and you want to, try this, you have now one piece of content that you can spread out over weeks if you wanted to. And that's what we plan on doing here. And the last thing I was going to comment on is right before we hit record on this, we noticed that like Bobbie Ann her video is a little bit darker than mine. Of course, I have like a little ring here and then another light there. So I'm kind of lit. What I think is nice to do is you try and balance out your light, which is really difficult to do. But Bobbie Ann, you have a little hack for that when you go into editing. And so you should share that with our viewers on what you do to kind of level that out.
Yeah, so it's actually a pretty simple thing, which, when you get into editing, it can be a little overwhelming if you're just getting introduced to it. But that's another thing that I really love about Adobe Rush is everything is broken down to like real layman's terms for you. So there's a small editing option to the side that's all for lighting. So you can actually zoom into certain parts of the video and then adjust the lighting from there. So you've kind of got a side by side that matches up.
Nice. Awesome. So that's advantageous because then things kind of look level and you look like you're not, in a closet and the other person's like right out in the sun. So we try to do that as well and just kind of level it up as best you can. Of course, it doesn't have to be perfect. Don't get stuck into the perfection syndrome because this is kind of that organic, raw. We didn't really script this out. Bobbie Ann said we need to get on and record a video about Zoom. Talked about it for a couple minutes and then you just hit record and it gets easier the more you do it. Trust us.
And that is one last point that I wanted to make about Zoom is, as you guys know, if you have ever tried to have a conversation like this on Facebook or Instagram, it's really kind of clunky and actually sometimes even just plain out difficult to try to have more than one person on like a live video call that you're trying to record. So this is a great way to have a conversation. And of course, balance out all of the things that we've talked about: audio, lighting, and everything in between, adding in captions, all that good stuff.
To kind of pull this into a closing, Bobbie Ann and I would love to recommend Zoom to you guys as something to record in. It doesn't stream live, so you're comfortable with that element of video. You can try it out, delete whatever that you want, and then move into editing that video so that it can be posted on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn. What am I missing?
All the
Website.
places.
All the things. So one recording in Zoom will end up lasting us numerous amounts of days for content. So try and hit that all, get a little list going when you do record in Zoom, because you'll find once you start going, you can really knock out some tips or, things that you want to post out for content. So thank you for watching this.